Alright, so we're going to move on to the third part of the Intro to HTML lesson. First thing we're going to do, well, I've opened up in Notepad++ the index1 document, which is where we left off. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go up to File and Save As, so that I can save this as index2 and not overwrite my existing work. Okay, so now I'm working in the index2 file. First thing that I'm going to do in this lesson is include a photo onto our web page, so that sounds exciting. What I need to do before I even think about coding, though, is I need to make sure that I have a photo file in my web directory here. All right, so there's no photos in here right now. I'm going to just grab an image that I happen to have hanging around, and notice it's file type .jpg. Okay, it wrapped there, but it's .jpg. You can use .jpg, .gif, .png, different file types, and then I'm just going to put this in this folder. So if I go in here now, I can see that my image is inside the folder. And I'm going to be really super lazy, and I'm going to change the name to photo.jpg. It doesn't matter what the name is, but it does matter that you get it exactly right in the code. And so I give myself something easy to type. Alright, so now we can go back to our code, and we have to decide kind of where on our page we want the image to go. I'm going to put it right up top, so just inside the body, prior to the paragraph, I'm going to put in a tag img. So img stands for image, and it's the tag that you need to include a photograph or a graphic or whatever. The thing is that by itself doesn't tell it what graphic to put in there, so I need to include the attribute src for source, and then the value is the name of the image, photo.jpg. Alright, and then I close the tag. Now, I told you in a previous lesson that most tags work in pairings, right? So you got font and close font. You got paragraph and close paragraph. You got bold and close bold, right? So this is an exception. Image does not have a closing tag. Image stands alone. When that happens, one thing that's good practice is to put a make it a self-closing tag by just inside the closing bracket, do a space and a slash. And when you do that, basically it's telling HTML this tag stands alone, it's closing by itself, it's not going to be looking for a pair to go with it. Alright, so we'll save our changes, and then we'll shrink this down, and we'll open up index2. For some reason, mine opened in the wrong window, so let me bring it over here. There we go. Alright, so index2. This is a little bit frightening. It's massive. Here's me. Hello, how you doing? And then here's the text. Okay, so good news, bad news. The good news is that our code worked, right? Here's our photo.jpg. The bad news is that it is massive. It is way too big. And so what we need to do is change the size. Now what I would recommend here is that you can do an attribute such as width equals, let's go 350. Okay. Alright, so what's happening there is we're changing just the width of the picture. If you specify the width, then the height will change in proportion automatically. Also, if you change just the height, the width will change in proportion automatically. So really, choose one. Either alter the width or the height. The issue comes when you do both. If you alter the width and the height, then it will listen to both commands and it will change both. The problem is, if you don't know the specific proportions of the image, if you don't do the math ahead of time, then you will change the proportions out of proportion, and you may end up with an image that looks like silly putty. Stretched terribly thin, stretched terribly wide. So unless it's really important to have a specific size picture and a specific location on the page, then I would specify change one and not the other. Alright, so we change the width, so we say save. we can go back to index2, and now the image is much more reasonable in terms of its size, right? And I can keep changing that around if I want to make it 300 instead of 350 or whatever. The next thing I want to do with this image is it's got a weird border, and that's fine unless maybe I had a gray background. If I had a gray background, it would blend into the background. So one thing I can do is I can add a border as an attribute. I would say border equals 1 if I want it to be 1. That means 1 pixel. And I hit refresh. And now you see there's a little line around the picture, and that's the result of my border command. Okay. By the way, this unit of measure is pixels or points, and it's an odd unit of measure, but essentially there are 72 points to an inch. So 300 would be roughly 4 inches wide. Now, even though that's a rough measurement, it changes based on the resolution of the screen that's looking at it. So it might be bigger or smaller depending on if the resolution of the monitor is set higher or lower. It's a little bit confusing that way. All right, let me show you another attribute. Right now, the image shows up right here at the top, and that's because I put the image tag right at the top of the body, right? But let's say I want to get a little bit stylish and I want the image to scooch over to the right side of the page. I can do a attribute align equals right. Okay, save. And then when I refresh that, okay, my picture goes to the right side of the page and the text wraps around it. If I had a lot of text, it would wrap around it to here and then go underneath. Okay, so that's text wrap. I like that. And then I'm going to show you another attribute that may not show up on the screen, but it's very important. And this one is alt equals, and then my value would be something like photo of Jim. Okay, so what's that all about? Well, what's going on there is that the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, requires that for any public website, like in a public institution like a government or school or anything that should be publicly accessible, it requires that web pages be ADA compliant. And the way it works is that somebody with disabilities, maybe they're sight impaired, they could have special software that will read the web page to them. And that works as long as the page is text-based. But when the page becomes, a page includes an image, obviously the computer can't read a picture to them. And that's why we put an alt, which is alternative text. And what happens there is that the screen reader will be able to say photo or image, photo of Jim. It'll be able to read the picture to them based on the text that's in the alt tag value. All right? So it's very, very important that you always include an alt tag whenever you do an image for ADA compliance, for your readers. It also helps out when something goes wrong. Let's say, for instance, that this image right here, the actual file, the image file, got deleted or moved or injured in some way so it wouldn't show on the page. Then you're just going to end up with a big box on the page to this dimension, and nobody will know what that box should have been unless you've got an alt tag. The alt tag will show on the page. So it's handy in a couple ways. So let's take a look. If we refresh the page now, some browsers, including Internet Explorer, will, well, it used to. I guess this version doesn't. Some browsers used to pop up with, if you hovered over the image, it would pop up with the alt text, but no longer, apparently. Okay, so let us continue with the assignment. What is next? Next, we want to put in a heading. So the way heading works, I'm going to put my heading right about here. The way the heading works is there are preset heading sizes. So the tag H1 is heading size 1, and there are 6 presets. 1 is the largest, 6 is the smallest. So I could say, welcome to Jim's webpage. oops, no quote, slash h1. All right, so that's opening and closing h1 tag, and I say save, and then if I refresh my page, then I see the heading right there. Now notice my image didn't wrap around the heading, and that's all about where on the document the tags exist, right? So if I actually took my h1 tag and I moved it down below the image, and it automatically indented, which is interesting. Didn't actually want that to indent. Can I move it backwards? Yes. All right, so now that the h1 tag is below the image, now it should wrap. Okay. All right, what else are we doing here? Also in this assignment, it asks you to add a horizontal rule. So a horizontal rule is just a line that goes horizontally across the page. So it's HR, HR, not human resources, but horizontal rule. And it's another one of these tags that stands alone, so you can do it self-closing. And now I've got a line that goes across that point of the page. That's probably not really where I want that line to be, so I'm going to move it. No, not there either. After the paragraph. There we go. All right. There are ways to style this horizontal rule. You can put in attributes in that HR tag that will change at different widths, different dimensions of the page. I think you can even change the color or the shadow style. So there's different ways to change that. We won't get into that right now. All right, so that's a horizontal rule. Next thing we want to do, and the last thing for this assignment, is we want to create a list. So a list is either a numbered or an unnumbered or bulleted list. And the way to do this is to start with a tag such as OL. OL is ordered list. Also, you could think of it as a numbered list. And then on the next line, usually, it doesn't really matter what line it's on, but typically, so you can see it, you would put it on the next line. I'm going to go ahead and indent it because it's a subset of OL. You do LI, which stands for list item. Be careful with this because a lot of students, when they're looking at the code, they interpret this as a 1 instead of a lowercase l. This is supposed to be LI, which stands for list item. So I could put on here something like cheese. Let's pretend it's a grocery list. And the next line is another item, crackers. Juice. What else is good for a snack here? Peanut butter. All right, so what I've done here is this tag starts an ordered list. These tags are list items, and then this tag ends the ordered list, right? So that's the syntax. Open it here, close it here, and everything in between becomes a list item. Now you'll notice that I didn't put a /li on the other end of this. I could, but strangely enough, and this is an exception, strangely enough, the standards don't require that you have a closing li tag. I don't know why they don't, but they don't. So there's really no purpose in putting this closing li at the end of the line. It doesn't hurt anything, but it doesn't help anything either. So if I refresh my page, here's my ordered list. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And however many numbers that I include in there is good. Now you can do attributes. You can do things like, I believe you can do start equals, I don't know, let's do 10. And say save it. Refresh it. Notice my numbers now start with the number 10. Okay, you can do things like type, I think it's type, might have this wrong, is lowercase I. Okay, what that does is it changes it to Roman numerals, lowercase Roman numerals, if I've done it right. Yep, so there's your lowercase Roman numerals. You can change it to uppercase Roman numerals. You can change it to different things. Refresh. All right. So anyway, that's a numbered list. Now, the other thing you can do instead of a numbered list is you can do an unnumbered list, which sounds like a strange name. I'm going to get rid of these attributes for a second. But if you change this OL, an ordered list, to a UL, which is an unnumbered list or an unordered list, and refresh it, then these items become bullet points. Okay, so there's no implied sequence, they're just items in a list. Okay, and you can do stuff to this like type equals circle. Oh, actually, I think it's already a closed circle. Let's do square. No, it didn't work. I thought that works, but apparently not. Let's try. Oh, that's because I spelled type wrong. Let's try it again. All right. Now see my bullets are squares. So you can do stuff like that. There's different ways to decorate it. And again, I recommend you view w3schools.com. And if you look up the coding for an unnumbered list or an ordered list, it'll tell you, it'll give you a variety of attributes that you can apply in this case. You can even create your own original graphic and access it here, and it'll become the bullet. So fun stuff like that. All right, that is the end of the third part, the third portion of this lesson, which is Intro to HTML.